Hey, what's up guys? So I recently picked up the Assault on Black Reach box set, and I had a few ideas on fun ways on how I could make my army feel a bit more unique, a bit fun, and really push myself out of my comfort zone in painting. Personally, I find I tend to rely a lot on painting guides and other people's recipes, and I don't really mix my own paints that much. You know, I haven't gone through the process of understanding mixing, problem solving with paint, and how to really push colors that you want to achieve. So with this challenge, I'm going to be painting up my boys in a variety of colors and tones in a way to force me to mix colors and also just provide a bit of variety in my army, which I really love. I mean, I hate batch painting, so this is great for me. It's a way to keep me motivated. As well, doing these videos is a way to keep me engaged, keep me paint up this box. Otherwise, it's probably just going to sit there for a couple of years and I'm just going to keep buying more and not really finish painting it. So how this challenge is going to work is I'm going to roll 3d6, and the total of those dice are going to correspond to the colors that I have to paint my boys. Now, statistically, I have a higher chance of rolling a green variation in tone, so my army is still mostly going to be green skins, but I still have that bit of choice in dark, light, any kind of green I want to do. But as well as that, I've got the chance of rolling blues, browns, reds, purples. There's even the rare chance that you guys could pick the colors, which I think is going to be really fun. So, with all that explained, let's meet the boys we'll be painting up today.
Leading the pack, we have Mr. Pete, quickly followed by Lover Boy. Big Gun and Banner Boy are feeling endowed, next to Kappa T and Mr. Krabs. Not last and not least, it's Gunner Boy and Chopper Boy. And holding the end of the line, it's Doc Power and Bomber Boy.
Sadly, we can only take 5 of these boys, so I'm going to roll 2d6, re-rolling double sixes, and the number that I roll is going to correspond to their position in line. First off, we have a 7. Secondly, we have a 5. Then a 4. And a 6. That's a 4, so we need to re-roll that. We have a 7, so again, we re-roll that. And with an 8, we can pick our boys. So, let's meet the boys. Right, time for the important rolls. The colors. Right, to start with, we have an 11. And another 11. Oops, re-rolling that. Then an 8. And finishing the rolls, we have a 15. Cool. So in total, we rolled 2 dark greens, a green of my choice, a brown green, and a blue green. Unfortunately, it's too soon to see if our rolls will average out in the future, but just have to keep playing the game and find out. With that said, I'm pretty happy with this variety. I think we're going to have a nice looking bunch of boys after this. Right, moving on to the painting. I'm going to use some War Flesh from Citadel as my base dark green colour. So I'm going to start base coating all of the skin first, because this will give me a good idea of how these models are going to eventually turn out. And to be honest, this is the bit that I've been most excited for. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to apply that all over the skin. I'm going to experiment with a new green here. So starting off with Pistachio from AK. Right off, I noticed this colour is far too bright for what I need, so I'm going to throw in some light sea grey from Vallejo to try and bring that tone down and kind of go for a more minty kind of colour. I'm going to try mixing some light brown from AK and some Warflesh. As I was mixing this, I wasn't quite happy with how bright this was and the direction it was going, so I just take some Oak Brown from Army Painter and I mixed that in with the Warflesh instead, and I was much happier with this result. And lastly, for my blue skin, I'm going to take some of the Fang from Citadel and I'm going to mix that in roughly 50-50 with Warflesh. So, now we've base coated all of the skin parts, we're going to move on to the fabric. I'm taking some of the Oak Brown and Light Brown from earlier, as well as some Orange Ochre from Vallejo and some Light Earth from AK. With the brown skin tone, I thought it would contrast really nicely with some light overalls. Then I thought the blue and the orange would contrast really nicely, so I went with the Orange Ochre. As I was putting it on, I realised it was a bit too orange and a bit too light, so I darkened and desaturated a bit with some of the other browns. And this worked quite nicely. Then I thought that the dark brown would work really well against the light green git. I thought chocolate and lime would go really well. And then because I hadn't base coated in my mid brown tone yet, I chose to use that for one of my true green skins. And the darker brown for the other. I then started base coating all of the other straps, boots, bracelets, pouches, etc. in different brown tones to the overalls, and I'm really starting to like how these boys are coming to life. For me, this is where I'm really starting to have fun and enjoying the process. I love when you're getting through that base coating stage and you can see everything coming to life, it's great. Because I thought some light tan boots would look a little strange, I took some of the Army Painter's matte black and used that against the dark brown. Now at this point during the painting, I was really starting to struggle with my cheap synthetic brush. I mean, just look at how frayed the end has become. Now because I'm stubborn, I tried to persevere with it for a bit, but in the end, I switched to my nicer brush, and man, what a difference it made. I was able to clean everything up nicely, and it was such a joy to realise I can actually paint between the lines. I then switched back to the old brush to base coat the metal parts in Citadel's Lead Belcher. After that, I wanted to break up all of the silver with some weapon bronze from Army Painter. Picking out the odd panels on the weapons, any jewellery, being mindful not to add too much and to keep the balance of the model. This stage really added a lot more detail and a lot more visual interest, and I was really happy with the outcome. Then just to finish off the base coating stage, I used some Xandri dust from Citadel on the teeth and the nails. Then some of Citadel's Bugman's Glow for the lips. Now we've finished the base coating, we can finally move on to the wash stage. For all the cloth, I'm going to take some Agrax Earthshade from Citadel and just slop it all over the model, hitting all the cloths and metallics, being mindful not to let it pull too much. Now, after the wash phase, if you were trying to get through a whole army, you were just trying to batch paint, you're trying to get through it, you're slogging your way through your army, I would just stop here. We've got more than enough colours for the battle-ready colour requirements, and the wash really makes these boys look nice and dirty, which suits them just fine. But I'm going to push them just a little bit more, just to bring out a little bit more definition, a little bit more highlights. I'm not going to go too crazy, these are just boys after all, they're not characters or anything. But personally, I just want to learn to paint a bit better. I think it's fun, so this is my project. You do what you want to do. Using some Bale Tan Green from Citadel, I washed my dark green boys and hit up all of their skin, making sure not to stain any of the cloth. For my light green boy, I watered down some of the Bale Tan Green and added a little bit of the pistachio into it just to try and make a more suitable colour for this guy. This worked out okay, but the back of my palette wasn't holding the wash very well. I should have used my actual wet palette, but you know, hey-oh, lesson for next time. And then for the blue boy, I'm going to take some of Army Painter's blue tone and mix that in with the Bale Tan Green, and again, hit up all the blue skin. And lastly, for Doc Brown, I mixed up some Agrax Earthshade and Bale Tan. With the washes now dry, I moved on to highlighting the skin. starting with our original base coat, I'm covering almost all of the skin, just trying to leave the dark recesses in place and starting to redefine the volumes. I then take some Warboss Green from Citadel as our mid-tone, mix that with the Wah Flesh, and start hitting up all the skin again, this time aiming for less than what we did before. You want to avoid mistakes at this stage, so go slowly. If you do, no big deal. Any mistake can still be fixed. I then use some straight up Warboss Green and paint even less of the skin. You can see here the difference it makes building up these highlights. To finish off these green skin gits, I took our brown tones from earlier and started cleaning up the large flat areas of the material, still trying to leave any recesses in place. I then redefined the lips and then highlighted it with some Cadian flesh tone from Citadel. And lastly, painting the teeth. I'm then going to mix up some of our original blue-green base colour, then making a separate mix, this time with our mid-tone green. I added in some of Citadel's rust grey and a bit more dark green, then mixed that with our base colour to reach a tone I was happy with. Then I mixed in some more of our mid-green to get a lighter and lighter tone. Then finally mixed some of Citadel's Fenrisian grey with our mid-green to create a final highlight. Moving on to Dock Brown, just like before, mix up our base colour and start redefining the volumes. I add in some mid-green with a little dark brown and light brown until I'm happy with the colour. I didn't end up doing as many layers with this guy. To be honest, I have no idea why. I just kind of forgot. Then finishing off the boys, I mix up some of our light green tone again, but this time I add in some light tan because I wasn't happy with how vibrant this guy was and wanted him to look a bit more pale and sickly looking. I then mix in some yellow green from Vallejo and a bit of Ushabti bone from Citadel. At this point I'm just mixing colours and having fun. But, you know, really happy with how it turned out. And with that, we're done. Our first boys painted up. I'm really happy with how these boys turned out. I was able to achieve my goal of mixing colours. I didn't go too crazy, just knowing that I have the ability to control the direction and how I want my colour schemes to go. Really liberating. Now I'm feeling more confident, more excited to paint up some more of these boys. You know, hopefully next week I can roll a red or a purple and really start experimenting with how some of these tones look. Just because I paint something a certain way in this video doesn't at all mean that I'm going to do the same in the next video. You know, it's kind of funny. I set this challenge to avoid doing typical color recipes, and yet I followed almost to the T GW's Ork recipe. The reason I did that was I didn't want to spend too much time doing 5 different color schemes. You know, if I roll that, then that's fine, but this was just a way of getting through the challenge and being able to paint more boys quicker. If 4 out of 20 boys are the same color, at least I've got 4, 8, 10 different colors, different varieties, and that's really going to break it up. It doesn't matter if some of them look the same, but I'm going to try and develop my own recipes. Comments down below for your recipes. If you have any funny ideas of what I can do, great, I want to hear it. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a ton of fun to make. This is my first ever proper video that I'm making, so it's been a pretty steep learning curve. I've been working literally all day, every day for the last couple of weeks, trying to figure everything out, trying to learn how to edit, film, all this stuff. I've got a ton of fun ideas for content that I'm really excited to start making. I hope you guys are too, and I hope you'll join me for this journey. This video was heavily inspired by Brent over at Goobertown Hobbies and his roulette series. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a ton of fun. Personally, I love it. I wish he'd make more of it. It's such a unique, fun concept, and I really enjoy watching those videos. Once I get my setup a bit more figured out, I get a little bit more used to making videos. I'd like to experiment with Twitch and streaming. You know, it'd be a lot of fun to do these roles live for you guys. I just think it'd be a bit more exciting. Anyway, I'm Max, and I hope to see you around. Hey, what's up, guys? So starting off with I'm gonna roll 3d6. So starting off, I'm gonna use some wah flesh, some wah, ooh wah.